The Democrats have invested so much in the January 6th narrative. Over the weekend, that narrative blew up.
And amen. And boom, shakalaka. Can you give the Lord some praise in here today?
My name is James C. Harris. Welcome to my channel. You know, ever since the January 6th commission started, you've had your specials on TV. You've had your big production. You've had the never Trumper Republicans try to remind us of how absolutely terrible that day was. They've joined ranks with the Democrats, also trying to preach how January 6th was one of those big turning points in history, how everything was hinged on the fact that we almost lost our democracy. What's so funny about this is how much it's overblown, how much the left has tried to make the January 6th narrative the most important, the most destructive day in America's history. And in doing so, they completely overstepped their bounds. Now, recently, we had FBI agent Peter I.B. Stroken struck. I call him I.B. Stroken because he was stroking Lisa Page during the whole, try to soft coup. I'm about to say soft porn, but no, it was a soft coup against President Trump. But he wasn't the first to align January 6th with 9/11. No. Early in the Biden administration, you had Vice President Kamala Harris come out and make the assertion that January 6th is right up there with 9/11 and with World War II. Check it out.
Americans, good morning. Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault. Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
In the sane world, well, that would never take place. You would never compare January the 6th, which was basically a protest gone wrong. I can't really say it even was a riot because you had the Capitol Police letting the people into the building, but I don't want to get into all the details. Even if it were what the Democrats are suggesting, that it was an attack on the Capitol, by a bunch of grandmas and grandpas, nobody having any guns. The only person being killed was an unarmed former military woman, Ashley Babbitt. I mean, it doesn't compare to January 6th, and it certainly does not compare to December the 7th. This is so overblown as to be ridiculous. But this is what the Democrats need to do in order to firebomb the Trump administration, President Trump, to make sure that he never comes back into office again. So we realize that this is a desperate play by the Democrats and by those never Trumper Republicans, by the media, by the deep state intelligence community, the DOJ, the FBI, even the CIA. The question is, did it work? After months of hearings and televised hearings and big events, did the American people fall for it? Did they bite the narrative that January 6th is the greatest threat to democracy this country ever had? Well, MSNBC put together a panel of American citizens in Pennsylvania. And they tried to go down the road of January 6th, trying to talk about it being a threat to democracy. But that panel did not give them the information that they wanted. As a matter of fact, some are saying that panel was more informed than the reporter that tried to set them up.
Doug Mastriano was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So, I mean,
they opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying for an elected official if they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester.
there, not a Capitol police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran was
That's
shot
the
by
only one that
police.
died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No,
He died
it was
of
a
heart attack.
stroke.
That's
not on site.
caused by that. That's because
Right.
he shouldn't have been a police officer. One woman.
So
was
what do
shot.
you make, though, overall of January 6th? I mean, it was watching that footage. It was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot
true.
like Antifa's
Yeah,
actions
it looked
to
a
me.
lot, except on a much smaller scale. It looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw the
Every single
similarities
city
to
around
be.
the country, not just
Minneapolis
one.
burns, Kenosha
But so it's
burns,
okay
Waukesha
just because
burns.
one side that you
No,
disagree with.
I'm
it's
saying
okay
Antifa
for-
No, I'm saying
infiltrated.
it's good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody
I don't
who
see it
harmed
that way.
anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if
on
you're there
either
making
side.
your voice heard at the
Right.
people's house, no less,
Yeah.
that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen. And people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
That's East Germany.
Tactics.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in your
Our
eyes?
administration, I
because
feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're using it as.
Mhm.
Do you think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him personally.
I don't think so,
I don't
no.
think so.
It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump. Little did I know.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually, I stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices
keyword.
be heard. And we get to the Capitol and we're like, what the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
I'm pretty sure I saw Democratic operatives instigating people to cross
totally.
barriers.
You can't make this up. You simply can't make this up. That reporter was totally unprepared for the responses that she got from that panel. And judging by the answers that they gave her to the questions that she asked, they were more educated on what was going on January the 6th. The officer that the left has been telling us ad nauseum died. They had a big fat funeral for him and stuff because he supposedly was attacked with a fire hydrant. I think the first story went, at the insurrection, as they wanted to call it. It didn't happen at all. He died the next day of a stroke or a heart attack or something, and people were saying it wasn't even related to what happened January 6th. No, the lies that the left has been trying to force on the American people for the last year and a half, they just fell flat. If we're going by this panel, MSNBC had to be absolutely just flabbergasted. They were just absolutely floored at how nobody took the bait. And once more, these people understood the details of what went down. They implicated the FBI. They talked about how the Capitol Police were letting people in. They were talking about videos that MSNBC and CNN and the other networks never run, but you've seen on the alternative media. There are a lot of questions that could have been answered if this were a legitimate January 6th panel, but it's not. It's more of an inquisition. It's more of a kangaroo court. It wasn't trying to get to the truth at all. It was just trying to damage President Trump. And according to this panel, and even to recent polls, it didn't work. On the long list of things that people are concerned about during this midterm election, I think out of the top 5, I think that January 6th didn't even crack the top 20. That's how bad this was. And it's hilarious to me because it's going with everything else that the left wanted to put up as a concern for midterm elections. Oh, January 6th. Oh, voter ID. Oh, abortion. None of these things are registering with the American people. Why? Because the Biden administration has been so horrific, because inflation is so out of control, because gasoline prices are out of control, because even though the media and the administration doesn't want to address it, open borders is impacting every city in this country. No, what we saw there was just a beautiful thing. What we saw is that the mainstream media, who is in collusion with the deep state, who's in collusion with the Biden administration, who's in collusion with big tech and social media, they have not been able to bamboozle the American people. And what the left truly fears is what is just a few weeks out, and that is a red tsunami in midterms, turning the House and the Senate back over to the Republicans, who are emboldened to not play the game as they played it before. And I think that that is a beautiful thing. Amen and boom shakalaka. This is my channel. If you like what you hear here, go ahead and subscribe. Also, check out my merch store at jamestharris.com. Got some new items up there that you should check out. Until we meet again, prepare yourself for the next few weeks. If you're looking at this before the midterm elections, things are going to get crazy because this one is for all the marbles.